The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah, go Cowboys! This is Mick Shots.
Streaming live on DallasCowboys.com and the official Dallas Cowboys app.
Now, here are Bill Jones, Savannah Humoller, Everson Walls, and Mickey Spagnola.
Well, 3 out of 4 ain't bad, as it is a Tuesday here in the SWBC podcast studio. It is Mick Shots. It's Bill Jones. It's Savannah Humoller. It's Mickey Spagnola, and it's not Everson Walls today. But hello.
Hello.
How are we doing?
Good.
Great.
Are
How
you
are
trying
you?
to?
Savannah's got her laptop out, and we are ready to take text messages from you, the Cowboy fan, today. It's a
Text Tuesday?
Text friendly. You know what? I was thinking it ought to be today. It's a Taco Tuesday. A Talk-O Tuesday, because we talked defense so much yesterday. We probably ought to talk offense today.
I like it.
I'm still on the defense.
Oh.
No, we got offense too.
Yeah.
We could go back and forth.
Offense has its own issues.
3 out of 4 ain't bad.
Yeah, and we had an opportunity at the end of the day yesterday, after we were signed off the air. Mike McCarthy had a press conference, and then the coordinators had their own media availabilities. And so we've got some light shed on what happened on Sunday afternoon. Mickey's got his legal pad filled with notes. I'm sure that he was scribbling down, Savannah, as he was listening to the coordinators talk yesterday.
Yes. What did they say?
What
Mickey?
did they say?
Yes. Tell us.
Give us some highlights. I'll let you go through the legal pad and come up with some highlights. But I was most interested, before we talk Tuesday, I was most interested in hearing what Dan Quinn had to say.
Yeah, he was, how should we say?
He was upset with the way his defense
Yes,
played.
yeah, that's probably
To quote him.
very accurate. So here's what I think I took from him, and it was about how in the first half, basically, but it kind of carried over to fourth quarter, giving up big plays.
And in the fourth quarter, the one big play,
69-yard completion,
Michael Wilson,
right?
left unguarded.
But he gave Malik Hooker credit
right.
for saving the touchdown and giving him an opportunity to at least maybe force
He made
a
it
field goal.
plain that it was not Malik Hooker's
Yes.
fault. In fact, Malik Hooker is the one who gave him a chance to get a stop on that drive,
yeah.
which they didn't get.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And he talked about how Hooker played, Bland played,
And D-Law. Said those were the three guys who played up to snuff on Sunday, and everybody else pretty much was less than what that they usually do.
So this will be the shocking stat that I came up with after listening to him about big plays. Okay?
Okay.
So the first 2 games, and we're going to judge big plays, run and pass plays of 20-plus yards. The first 2 games, they gave up 3 of those in that category for 114 yards. Just 3. And one of them was the 68-yarder with Zach Wilson to Garrett Wilson, 68-yard touchdown pass. So, we talked yesterday that there were 7 big plays by Arizona of 20-plus yards. Well, those 7 plays came to 249 yards.
Against Arizona?
Against Arizona. So 249 of their 400 yards came on 7 plays. The other 46 plays they had came to 151 yards. So if you do the math on it, the 7 plays for 249 come to about 30-some yards a play, average. And the 46 plays for 151 yards come to 3.2 yards a play. So how do you play so well on 46 plays and 7 plays were disaster, which basically got them beat, right? And that was the difference, I think, in that game, seeing that they had, plays of 69, 45 for a touchdown, 44 for a run. I think they had a 30 in there and a couple 20s. Mm-hmm. But so what happened with this defense, and, sometimes they get you, right? They came up with a play and out-schemed you on that play. But a lot of times, those big plays like that, they're mistakes. They're assignment mistakes, just like Bill pointed out on the 69-yard pass. There's no way you devised a defense to let that guy run across the field down the right side all by himself without a soul even there. So there was a misplay there. We talked about, Bill mentioned the 44-yarder.
The quarterback run on the second play of the game.
And then on that touchdown, the 45-yard one, Sam Williams crashed inside, didn't hold down the edge, and they double-teamed Jaron Kearse to the outside. Double-teamed him with both tight ends on that play that I went and watched. And then that was the one Donovan Wilson took a false step to his left and couldn't get back in time to his right.
Do you think they were confused? Some of the guys were confused because when I watched, there was a Sam Williams, Jordan Lewis looked confused on a couple plays. Is that a problem as far as that inconsistency there? Do they need to tighten up on having consistency?
There was one play they were confused on lining up.
Yeah, remember
Parsons was to the left, and Vander Esch was shoot him to the right.
And he had his hands.
Yeah, and he's going, "Wow, what do I do? Or what am I? Am I playing defensive end or linebacker?" Right. So yeah, I think there was some of that, and I'm going to give Arizona credit for scheming against this defense. I think that they saw some of the apparent weaknesses, and then the other thing that stood out to me is the defensive front was not keeping the offensive linemen off the linebackers. There was too many times Vander Esch, it's one thing to have one guy come on you. Sometimes there was two. You can't play defense like that.
It's interesting. Just you have a certain game plan offensively and defensively as you go into a game, and I think that when you look at the offense, I think once it was determined on Saturday that Tyron Smith was highly unlikely to play, and Zach Martin was out, and Tyler Biotish was out, and you pretty much were certain you were going with 3 new starters on, and then a first-time starter this year in Tyler Smith at left guard, that Mike McCarthy altered his game plan for the game as far as what they were going to do offensively. Defensively, they may have wanted to do the same thing. Maybe they did. I don't know. But this was a game where, with the uncertainty on the offensive line, the possibility of producing a lot of points was not going to be as great as if everybody was healthy. And the one thing you want to avoid against Arizona is the big play. And I think that, but the calling card of this Cowboys defense, the first 2 games of this year, the last 2 years, are their takeaways, their big play ability. And I think they went in with the attitude that we're us. We're going to do what we do defensively, and we are going to come up with big plays, and it backfired on them.
Like they were hunting the plays instead of letting
they were aggressively seeking the big plays, and that's why I mentioned to Everson is it's become a mindset of a player when you know you're down a number of players in a game that you're trying to do too much. You're trying to make that big play, and maybe even from a coaching standpoint, you're trying to do too much to make a big play. When in this game against this particular team, if you just kept them all in front of you and made it and played it like it was going to be a close game, then you wouldn't have had the big play sprung on you. One play in particular, the Rondale Moore play, Mickey, which you talked about. Sam Williams was playing the right edge. He was set up as a wide 9.
Right.
Dorrance Armstrong was wide 9 to the left. And if you look at the end zone copy, the Cowboys basically had 2 down linemen and Marquise Bell as your middle linebacker on that play. And that was the play where Marquise Bell got eaten up by the offensive lineman. Some will say the offensive lineman held him as well. But the numbers weren't right there. And by formation, Arizona schemed it where Leighton Vander Esch was not playing the middle. He was shaded to the left side of the formation.
And the one thing also I think Quinn pointed out is they didn't have a takeaway. This team, that defense lives on takeaways. And they had, 7 of them in the first 2 games. They were +7 takeaway differential. So I just decided right now I was going to see the last time they played a game without a takeaway. And I'm looking here from last year, and if I can go game by game,
you're going to find that.
I'm going to find that I go back to Washington, the 4th game of the year. They didn't have an interception. They didn't have a fumble recovery.
As you're looking that up, one of the reasons that they had so many turnovers or takeaways in the first 2 games of this year is they were able to get up on the Giants and the Jets early in the game.
Right.
This game played out differently, where they were down 15-3 in the second quarter.
And they're trying to play catch up.
And you go back the last couple of years, and when the Cowboys fall behind by double digits in the first half of a game, it usually doesn't bode well for them.
Right.
Most teams are like that too.
Yeah.
But previous year, I think it was I'm pretty sure it was the 2021 season, all the losses, they got behind by double figures in the first half of the game. And every game that they didn't do that, they won.
So last year, all they had was 6 games with no interceptions. And when it came to fumble recoveries, 6. And that's it. Every other game, there was interceptions and fumble recoveries.
And what was the record last year?
12-5.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
it's a recipe for success.
Can't fall behind.
Can't fall behind, and you got to win the turnover differential.
Exactly.
And then, the other part of that is if you're getting takeaways, you're making it usually easier on your offense. Chances are you're getting better field position. But conversely, if you're scoring points on offense, then the opposing offense has to take chances. And they never really got Arizona to a point where the pressure's on, we got to score. And they should have had it at 21-16 and then one play.
The pressure was on Arizona on that possession.
And it took one play.
Because if they go 3 and out,
right,
the Cowboys are in position, okay?
Yeah.
But Michael Wilson was left uncovered for a 69-yard pickup.
So you got
a mental bust.
Right.
All right. You want to start us off before we go to break here with something from the text line, Savannah?
Yes.
Do we need to remind everybody before we do this?
Sure.
817-290-3298.
I think we're gonna have to talk a little Dak Prescott when we come back.
Okay.
I have a few people asking some questions about Dak,
of course,
consistency, Dak ceiling.
Okay. Anything about the offensive lineman that we're missing?
I have one question.
I've got one for you when we come back here.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do that. As we come back, it's Taco Tuesday on Mick Shots.
I'm Dak Prescott, quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys.
And they snap it to Prescott, who looks right. It's not there. He escapes left. He'll run for a first down.
Just like football, when it comes to crypto, it's important to have a team you can trust. With blockchain.com, I know I'm in good hands. Since 2011, they've been trusted by millions around the world to buy, sell, and trade cryptocurrency.
Prescott's going to run this himself. Run it up the middle, and he scores.
Whether you're new to crypto or an active trader, they've got you covered. What are you waiting for? Get started at blockchain.com.
You know that sound anywhere. It's the crisp crunch of that first nacho chip. With its perfect cheese to sour cream ratio sitting atop a layer of delicious beans, it's a sip away from perfection. That's what we're looking for. Add a delicious, refreshing Pepsi and we've achieved absolute nacho nirvana. Because while you can pile those nachos high with every spicy, cheesy, savory topping, there's no topping a cool Pepsi finish. Nachos, better with Pepsi. That's what I like.
The Medal of Honor is our country's highest military award for valor in combat. More than 40 million individuals have served in the armed forces since the Civil War. Fewer than 4,000 have received the Medal of Honor. The National Medal of Honor Museum will be a place to preserve these legacies and inspire America. It's being built right next door to the Dallas Cowboys in Texas. Help us honor our country's greatest heroes. Learn more and get involved at mohmuseum.org.
Cowboys football and Miller Lite. What a pairing. Can cracks at kickoff. Tailgates going way past postgame. Sunday night overtimes followed by Monday morning swagger. Brisket in the smoker. Miller Lite in the cooler. America's team playing America's greatest sport. Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys football tastes like Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. 2023 Miller Brewing Company, Fort Worth, Texas.
Back to Mick Shots.
K-Post Roofing and Waterproofing, the official roofer of the Dallas Cowboys.
All right, we continue here on a Tuesday at the Star in Frisco. Cowboys players have their regular day off today. They start in earnest preparing for the New England Patriots tomorrow. And, of course, last night we had 2 games played. The Eagles remain unbeaten with a 25-11 win over the previously unbeaten Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the Bengals got a yeoman effort from Joe Burrow playing hurt to beat the Rams last night for their first win of the season. So there are 3 unbeaten teams in the NFL through 3 weeks of the season. That shows what parity does for you in this league. It's Philadelphia, it's San Francisco, who the Cowboys will play next week, and it's the Miami Dolphins, who put up 70 points. And by the way, how about the matchup this week? Miami-Buffalo.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Very good.
It's a good one. I believe it's a noon game on Sunday. A rare marquee matchup in the noon window on Sunday.
Is Tony Romo getting that game?
That will be interesting. I would imagine it would.
I mean, I'd ship them right.
A lot of times, the
number
network
one crew, right?
But a lot of times, the networks will make the decisions on what games they're getting in the first month of the season. They make that decision before the season even starts. But I can see that they would have already assigned him and Nance to that game at the outset of the season, albeit it being a noon game. Usually he gets the 3:25 game. All right, here's a question.
So wait, before we go,
all right.
I was going to say, advice to the Dallas Cowboys after watching the Philadelphia game last night. They've got till November 5th to get their offensive line back together because the Georgia line, holy cow, those monsters. Is that the name of a group, Georgia? No, I don't know. There's a country, something country.
Florida Georgia Line.
Florida
Georgia Line.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, this is just the Georgia line.
Okay.
Oh, my Lord.
Well, speaking of offensive line, if I were to tell you
Yes.
at the beginning of training camp, okay, not just on offense, but the Cowboys are going to play a game this season where they don't have Trayvon Diggs and Marquise Bell is your third linebacker, okay, which is the way they've been playing it the last 3 weeks, okay? But I'm saying, I'm asking this question at the beginning of training camp when we had no idea that Marquise Bell would be a linebacker.
Right.
He was a safety. Okay. All right. But more importantly, they're going to play a game this season in which Chuma Edoga starts at left tackle. Tyler Smith plays his first game of the season at left guard. Brock Hoffman is your starting center. T.J. Bass is your starting right guard and Terrence Steele at right tackle. What would you say, regardless of who the opponent is, what would you say the chances are the Cowboys win that game? If I asked you that question at the beginning of training camp.
I would have said they got shut out.
I would.
Fair enough.
I'd have basically as important as it is to have healthy offensive linemen in this league. And you can point to the Rams last year, the Super Bowl champions from the year before, who lost a previously Pro Bowl left tackle and Andrew Whitworth to retirement, and then they had so many injuries during the season. We saw what happened to that team last year, and there are others too. We saw Philadelphia remain healthy throughout the year on their offensive line until the very end when Lane Johnson had to nurse an injury in the last game of the season, basically. And we saw what Philadelphia did. Yeah, I think you're probably seeing this year with the teams that are getting off to quick starts that the offensive lines are healthy. But it's so important to have a healthy offensive line. That's not an excuse for what happened on Sunday, but it's just reality in this league. And as Brian Schottenheimer said in his press conference yesterday, those guys played well. But it's very difficult for an offensive line to be thrown together, especially the way this one was this past week with the injuries coming late in the week where they didn't get the reps in practice for them to be able to function as an offense, which I think has a lot to do with the play calling that we saw in this game, especially late in the game. After the Michael Gallup throw in the end zone, that is not Mike McCarthy-like to run from the 5.5-minute mark to the 3-minute mark in the game where time is of the essence to run 5 straight rushing plays. But I think he felt like he had to do that because of what he had up front on his offensive line.
Oh, I think he was scared of it. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to throw one more at you. Just think back to, remember the Super Bowl when Kansas City got beat? And they had like 3 different offensive linemen in there.
What they did in the offseason after that, they shored up that offensive line.
Free agency and the draft. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So no, you're exactly right on that. And even Mike McCarthy said, my bad, that I've got to learn now, and he probably knew it, but I'm going to get my backups more snaps in practice. And remember, they only have so much time in practice, right? But those guys that you just mentioned barely got any practice.
Right.
Because they thought, well, they would have had some early because they knew Zach wasn't practicing. But the Biotish thing crops up, and then Tyron Smith thing crops up on Saturday, right? And so those guys are out there without many snaps.
With Tyron, you basically have, because of track record the last several years, that and where he is in his career. And now Zach Martin is at that point, that age-wise, 33 years old, that you've got to make sure that the backup offensive linemen are ready to go. Even when it appears on the injury report that you're good on Thursday, you may not be good by Sunday.
Have we anticipated when these guys could make a return potentially? Has anyone said anything?
No, they have not. I think Stephen Jones mentioned that there was a chance that they would get back, but he said we got to see how the week goes along. So I think they're usually pretty optimistic. It makes the decision
easy if they have an injury that puts them out for 4 weeks and you put them on IR. Now you're getting the young guys reps in practice.
And you're talking 2 guys starting, Hoffman and Bass, that had never played. I mean, they'd been out there, mop up stuff. Bass got to play a little bit that second half
against the Jets
for the Jets, but they had never started in the NFL. That was their first starts. Hoffman's probably first snaps, other than some cleanup time and a blowout. So if those guys don't get a lot of snaps in practice, I'll be interested to see this week if they give some snaps at left tackle to Tyler Smith.
Yep, that will be interesting, and good for them. They were actually going up against the Arizona front and not the Philadelphia front or the San Francisco front, which the Cowboys will be facing next week, and even what the Patriots do defensively. They got in a very experienced defense. They have virtually everybody back on defense, and you know what Bill Belichick can do with the defense to try to confuse young players. All right, to the text line we go.
All right. Regina from Virginia would like to know what we think about Brandon Cooks and the 2 games he has played. Do you think he has enough chemistry with Dak Prescott?
Oh, I think the chemistry is there. I think I'm going to go back to, he didn't play the previous game, so he played in the opener. I think,
which was a game in which the Cowboys did not have to throw the football because they got up 16-0 to start the game, and
then this last game, as Bill's talking, they're playing with a scared stick,
and he's dealing with his injury, so coming off it. So I think it's too early to I think that they were fine, just judging what we saw in training camp. They had gotten work together in the off season on their own as well. I think the chemistry is fine. It's just too small a sample size and the nature of the games so far that it's hard to make a read. Just like last week we were talking, they got to get Michael Gallup involved. Well, Michael Gallup got involved in a really good way on Sunday, which they will grow from there on that.
And had that interference got called in the end zone, they would have had the ball at the 1-yard line, and I kind of liked their chances of
giving it to Hunter Lipke and letting him score.
That's right.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm here for that. I actually like that. Give them the ball.
So if they had scored a touchdown, was that the drive of the interception?
Yes.
So the score at that time was
28-16.
28-16, so it would have been 28-23 or 24 if you go for 2, if you scored a touchdown.
But you wouldn't have. 28-23.
Yeah. So now, game on, right?
Right, and you still had 3 timeouts left.
And you could have onside kicked.
You could have onside kicked.
You would have played defense.
Yeah.
And now the pressure was
so what
finally
you're saying, had they gotten the call, then you wouldn't have had 3 minutes left. Let's say you score on the next play, and at best you score on the next play, and you've got 5 minutes left in the game instead of 3 minutes left in the game, and so you would not have onside kicked. You would have tried to trust your defense that they're going to go ahead and cover everybody and get a 3-and-out, and then you get the ball back.
Because that play was snapped at 5:33.
Right.
So say you got the call, you would have had 5 minutes left.
Right.
With the score now tight, and it makes them think, okay, now this is.
It was a huge call in the game.
Right.
Huge call. Yes.
Especially since it was made and then picked up for some godforsaken reason.
Okay, we're going back to the text line. Are we going to go down that Dak road?
I think we can start going down the Dak road if you'd like.
All right, let's go for it.
All right, let me pull this up. Okay, Dak in his 8th season. Jalen Hurts went to the Super Bowl in his 2nd year. Do we think
Russell Wilson did too?
Dak, his ceiling maybe has been hit compared to Jalen Hurts?
Not comparing to Jalen Hurts or anybody, but I don't think this ceiling has been hit.
I agree.
No. So, let's not judge off of one game. I mean, think about the judgments that were made after 2 games. This was going to be the doomsday defense. And then in game 3, they doomed the Cowboys. 7 plays for 200 and, what did I say, 49 yards. Jeez.
Against the Arizona Cardinals.
Who hadn't won, and what'd they lose, 9
By the
straight?
way, I was thinking, another thing I was going to tell you yesterday, we needed to have Danny Surek on the show this
afterwards,
week.
yeah.
Oh, bring her back on,
But we needed with Everson here. Because you heard what Everson was telling Danny last week about. In fact, I saw a Facebook post. That's what it made me think of it. I saw a Facebook post from Danny's family, and they all root for the Cowboys because they're from here, and she's the Arizona Cardinals reporter now. As we talked about with her on the show last week, her heart is actually with the Cowboys, but her paycheck goes to the Cardinals. She didn't say that. I said that, but. It was funny, and so in the comments I said we need to have you back on the show just so that you could talk some smack to Everson.
Well, she had her,
but she wouldn't.
She had her red suit on, by the way.
Yeah.
And at halftime, she came up to me, and it was 21-10, and she said, "Oh, having a good time?" And I said, "You just be careful. The Cowboys got the first possession of the second half. It's going to be 21-17 real quick." Well,
did you see her after the game?
Oh, yeah. I
okay.
did, yeah.
All right. All right. We continue with more Mick shots in just a moment.
The Medal of Honor is our country's highest military award for valor in combat. More than 40 million individuals have served in the armed forces since the Civil War. Fewer than 4,000 have received the Medal of Honor. The National Medal of Honor Museum will be a place to preserve these legacies and inspire America. It's being built right next door to the Dallas Cowboys in Texas. Help us honor our country's greatest heroes. Learn more and get involved at mohmuseum.org.
Cowboys football and Miller Lite. What a pairing. Can cracks at kickoff. Tailgates going way past postgame. Sunday night overtimes followed by Monday morning swagger. Brisket in the smoker. Miller Lite in the cooler. America's team playing America's greatest sport. Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys football tastes like Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. 2023 Miller Brewing Company, Fort Worth, Texas.
I'm Dak Prescott, quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys.
And they snap it to Prescott, who looks right. It's not there. He escapes left. He'll run for a first down.
Just like football, when it comes to crypto, it's important to have a team you can trust. With blockchain.com, I know I'm in good hands. Since 2011, they've been trusted by millions around the world to buy, sell, and trade cryptocurrency.
Prescott's going to run this himself. Run it up the middle, and he scores.
Whether you're new to crypto or an active trader, they've got you covered. What are you waiting for? Get started at blockchain.com.
You know that sound anywhere. It's the crisp crunch of that first nacho chip. With its perfect cheese to sour cream ratio sitting atop a layer of delicious beans, it's a sip away from perfection. That's what we're looking for. Add a delicious, refreshing Pepsi and we've achieved absolute nacho nirvana. Because while you can pile those nachos high with every spicy, cheesy, savory topping, there's no topping a cool Pepsi finish. Nachos, better with Pepsi. That's what I like.
Back to Mick shots.
Your Dallas Cowboys head to Santa Clara to take on the 49ers in Week 5 of the 2023 season. Come out to the Miller Lite House at AT&T Stadium on October 8th for a free watch party presented by 7-Eleven. Cheer on the boys alongside the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders and rowdy while enjoying $5 Miller Lites, barbecue game day, fare, and more. Gates open at 6 p.m. and kickoff is at 7:20. For more information and to claim your free ticket, visit dallascowboys.com/watch party.
That'll be fun. A Sunday night game at San Francisco next week. And then the Cowboys play a night game the following week, a Monday night game at the Chargers. And then the bye week after that, the week of October 22nd. But the Chargers, by the way, just signed Simi Fehoko to their active roster off the Steelers practice squad. They had the injury to Mike Williams, which will help the Cowboys out when they go to play the Chargers. Did you see the numbers that Justin Herbert put up against the Vikings? He was like 40 out of 47 for over 400 yards. And Keenan Allen threw a touchdown pass, and he also had, I think, like 18 catches in the game. They're putting in it, but it was a very close game that the Vikings came very close to winning.
It was a great game. He had 405 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah. So.
And who's the offensive coordinator?
Kellen Moore.
Okay.
That's right.
Why aren't we staying at San Jose after the San Francisco game?
I don't know.
I didn't ask. I was asking you. See if you could arrange that.
After the game?
Well, because you got to go back again on Monday, the following Monday, to play the.
I see. Between the San Francisco.
Yeah.
Well, then,
but it's not it's like an 8 days. Like the Giants played last week. The Giants
but it's not like 8 days because we'll get home Monday at about 5 in the morning.
But you still get a full week to prepare, Mickey. Okay. The Giants, on the other hand, they played week 2. They played at Arizona, and then they played a Thursday night game at San Francisco. So obviously they were going to stay on the West Coast, which they did.
Well, Bill kept us out there between San Francisco and the Raiders when they were in Oakland.
It was the same town.
Yeah.
But this week it's the New England Patriots. And the New England Patriots made an interesting move at the end of the week. Friday, Saturday, they signed Will Grier off the
Wow.
Bengals practice squad. And Will Grier said, yep, I'm coming to New England. And so,
absolutely,
as Brian Schottenheimer said, there's probably some late hours that Will Grier is spending this week as the New England coaching staff picks his brain on the Cowboys offense.
They will debrief him.
Uh-huh.
Going to be like a spy, right?
Interesting, though. Now, I guess I would think that Will Grier might have had the opportunity with Burrow, with what's going on with his injury. Grier and the Bengals probably, they had to make a decision on, okay, are we going to activate you, sign you to the active roster? But they felt good enough about Burrow's injury that they didn't need a third quarterback on the 53. So Will decided he'd head to New England and take that offer.
It's a big pay raise.
It was funny last week. The Bengals were having the running back practicing throwing the ball because he was going to be the third emergency quarterback.
Yeah.
After Grier got taken.
What? But when you think about it from Will Grier's perspective, okay, you're behind Joe Burrow in Cincinnati. Is it a better opportunity, you think, going to New England, being behind Mac Jones and Malik Cunningham, whoever else they have on their roster at quarterback? I'm thinking the opportunity might present itself sooner in New England than it does in Cincinnati for him, assuming Burrow can stay healthy. And by the way, I mean, Burrow last night, he obviously wasn't able to drive the football, but he went ahead and played because he felt like the risk of going 0-3 was greater than the risk of further injury to his calf.
Did you see him sitting on the bench with that wrap around his calf?
Yeah.
I think it was probably a warming device or something.
So,
okay, where are we at
Is
here?
Dak calling plays this week? Because, I mean, Grier had a great game when Dak called the plays.
That is
He's
true.
Like,
Very nice.
So all Will can offer to the Patriots is, well, all I know is this is how Dak would call a game.
Exactly.
I haven't seen enough of. I don't pay attention that much. I was the third quarterback there.
Maybe they'll instead of being the emergency third quarterback, they'll just make him inactive and send him into the coaching booth up
He
top
might be.
to watch.
He might be an
right?
eye in the sky for the game.
That's right.
Or he's in whatever position to try to steal signs.
That too.
Oh, no. We can't have that.
Not like we're going to change those this week.
And Patriots don't have any experience trying to
stealing signs.
Yeah. That's not something that they would do, right?
Or putting somebody in the Dr. Pepper building.
So what is it, as we look ahead towards New England, what is it that concerns you about this Cowboys team this week with this opponent?
I'm just worried about them. You know what? I'm not worrying about the opponent. I'm worried about them. I'm worried about getting that offensive line back together, and if it's not together, then getting those backups enough snaps that they are better coordinated up front. And then the defense just needs to get back to playing sound defense and not scurrying all over the place. That's my concern. I don't care if they're playing Philadelphia Eagles this week. That stuff is just take care of yourself.
I'm sure Dan Quinn this week will really focus with the defense to try to get them set up for Sunday. I think that is his goal this week. You got to get all the guys on the same page and make sure they're not confused and we don't give up those 7 big plays, as you said, something like that. We need to be more consistent.
And then offensively,
I don't think New England's had 7 big plays all season.
Well,
that's good.
We'll find out as soon as their stats come out. And then offensively.
But having said that, I have a lot of respect for New England, and they lost to Philadelphia 25-20. That was a game in the season opener. They fell behind 16-0 to start the game, and then against Miami, a team that put up 70 the following week, they lost to them 24-17, and then against the Jets, they win 15-10. Go ahead.
So I was going to say, and then offensively, as Brian Schottenhauer said, they will emphasize red zone offense this week and make sure that they come up with a good plan. And you're right. I guarantee you they pulled back, and just because out of fear of their own selves, right, with the offensive line they had. But no more pulling back.
Well, at a certain point, okay, that was a game where guys are getting their feet wet,
right,
playing in the NFL, and the game's come in a hurry, and you saw what happened with taking that approach in that game. Well, you've got to do what you do.
And you're going to face a lot of blitzing, I'll guarantee you, from Belichick. So do we have a text all teed up there?
Let me see what we have here. I got to say, not many texts coming in today. Not on the Taco Tuesday.
Well, they had their chance.
They did.
I'll talk New England O, and I loved what McCarthy said yesterday about Zeke. And his first impression of Zeke was the 2016 game at Green Bay. And, of course, McCarthy was on the Packers sideline, and he said, Zeke made a long run right in front of the Packers bench, and he just remembers just how big his head was.
It's about the third time he's told that story.
And this is a big man. And he had said that, watching him on television, whether in college or wherever, and preparing for the game when coaches film, you don't get an impression of just how big a guy he is. And that was his first impression, was just how big his head was. And he had many very nice things to say about Zeke yesterday, and how he's loved in this locker room. And so I love that the game is being played here, and that it's
like homecoming.
Exactly.
Homecoming.
When you
Zeke
think the
coming
last
here.
time the Cowboys had a prominent player come back to play 'em? And I don't know the answer to that. All I can think of is Emmett coming back with Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
But
20 years ago.
Was there anybody else? I mean,
I'm sure
because they
been.
normally didn't let prominent players get away, right? Now, DeMarcus Ware, right? But I don't think they ever played Denver with Ware, did they?
I don't remember.
Came back in the preseason, I believe.
Okay.
DeMarcus did?
I believe so. I'm going to look it up.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't.
There really wasn't. Now, Ken Norton did with San Francisco.
Going back 30 years now, Savannah.
But I was just trying to think. Somebody, quarterback, running back, wide receiver. Did Terrell Owens ever come back?
DeMarco Murray did with Philadelphia, if you remember.
Oh, that's right. He did.
And he was a pretty big figure for us.
Yeah, at that time.
Mm-hmm. I don't even remember DeMarco Murray being with Philadelphia.
I don't either.
He was there for a year.
I was thinking
I do not even remember that.
I was thinking he was at Tennessee.
Yeah, he flew right over my head. But anyway, I think Zeke, he got a late start in training camp, didn't get signed until pretty much late August, and they've got Ramondre Stevenson, who I'm familiar with, having watched him at Oklahoma. I liked him. He's a big, tough, strong running back. Zeke's a better running back than him, depending on how much juice Zeke has left. And he shows, what I've seen so far in New England, he's shown that he's still got it. And he had 16 carries for 80 yards in the win over the Jets on Sunday. And so I think we're going to see a lot of Zeke on Sunday against the Cowboys.
28 carries this season, 122 yards, and no scores.
Look at there. Got that stat ready to go.
Yes.
I'm going to look it up.
Zeke was right at 5 yards a carry against the Jets. He had several runs over 10 yards in that game.
See you there?
So, anyway, it's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun week as we get ready for the New England Patriots coming here on Sunday.
Especially if he scores on the goal line. Which we will get into the we didn't get to the offensive part, the red zone stats after 3 games and the goal-to-goal stats after 3 games because the Cowboys are only converting 40% of the times.
Yep. And 3 for 11 the last 2 games.
Yes.
They were actually good in the red zone down on the goal line against the Giants. But since then, that's 27% the last 2 games in the red zone. All right, that does it for Mick Shots on a Tuesday, and we will chat at you again tomorrow at noon.
Go Cowboys.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys?